As the American Empress, I have passed some new legislation. I am the author of Conspiracy Law, and I can see that the Jesuits are going to try to sneak out from under my conspiracy law and get Jesuit Hillary Clinton into the presidency, which would totally undermine my conspiracy law. So let me just, what the Jesuits are saying, see, under my conspiracy law, Jesuit votes do not count. And what they've been doing is using brain control by giving people yeast infections to their brain. And they're using brain control, and they're saying that these are not Jesuits and they're voting, but then those people would be considered unwilling agents. But what they're doing is conducting polls on Jesuit news using brain control victims as the ones who are being polled to determine that Hillary Clinton is way ahead of Donald Trump in the polls. Anyways, I've written some new law to address this. 8.1A2, further, all polls presented to the public must be presented so that the public sees two polls: the polls of those who are Jesuit voters and the polls of those who are not Jesuit voters. For the purpose of this section, a Jesuit is defined as one who willingly or unwillingly and knowingly or unknowingly supports the Antichrist Zach Knight, who is the true Jesuit leader in his goal for a worldwide takeover for the Catholic Church. So, if a poll is conducted of those who are running for president, the presenter will allow the world to see how Jesuits would vote in an election to make people aware of which candidates not to vote for. The news presenter must show which portion of the population is under Jesuit brain control and are therefore classified as Jesuit in the polls. All those under Jesuit brain control must be put on Seroquel to remove them from Jesuit brain control, if Seroquel will be effective and safe to remove them from Jesuit brain control. Those under Jesuit brain control must not have their votes count in any election in any conspiracy law honoring nation. For the purposes of conspiracy law, a person under Jesuit brain control is considered an unwilling agent. The news presenter must state that in a conspiracy law honoring nation, that these Jesuit votes will not count in an election, but that the public is entitled to know which candidates the Jesuits support to help them vote more intelligently for candidates. To protect Gail, these polls may not be shown where Gail lives or may be shown in a manner that will not cause Gail to be a Jesuit target. Any willing and knowing attempt or action, direct or indirect, to allow Jesuits to influence a vote in favor of the goals of the Jesuit order to take over the world for Zach Knight will bring the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator to that by later. If Seroquel is found to make a person immune to Jesuit brain control, and if it will not cause harm to the person taking it, then that person must be placed on Seroquel, both as a preventive measure and or a treatment measure for somebody already under Jesuit brain control. If Seroquel is found to prevent Jesuit brain control, then nobody can have their vote count in any election or poll unless they are taking Seroquel as prescribed by their conspiracy law honoring physician. The only way a Jesuit brain control victim can have their vote count in a poll would be if the presenter of the poll explains to the audience which of those polled are under Jesuit brain control, are Jesuits, and are non-Jesuits. If Church of Gail physicians and scientists determine that it is safe to allow Seroquel to become an over-the-counter drug, for instance, a certain amount of time to help prevent, If Church of Gail physicians and scientists determine that it's safe to allow Seroquel to become an over-the-counter drug to make it easier for the general population to take it, it must be dispensed by conspiracy law pharmacies who will regulate how much of it can be sold in a month so that the patient buying the drug can only buy, for instance, a certain amount at a time to help control overdose possibilities. To make it easier for this drug to be available to the general population, pharmacists will be trained in how to dispense this drug to their customers. They can pull up a history on each patient from the computers of the National Healthcare Plan. Yes, I have a National Healthcare Plan. That's why I'm an independent. I'm neither Republican or Democrat. and determine proper dosage and instructions for each patient. Patients will have the option to get Seroquel from a pharmacist or a physician. Because Seroquel is such an important drug for everybody to take, the government will subsidize the cost of the drug to the general population, making it available at a great discount or even free if possible. Nobody who needs to be on this drug to be eligible to vote, for instance, will be deprived of Seroquel. The government will be sure to pay for all the costs of the drug to ensure that all who need to be on it are on it. To help get everyone on Seroquel, a special presentation about Seroquel will be shown on all news networks to educate the public about how this drug works, to prevent Jesuit brain control on the populations, about its possible side effects, and which drugs could cause possible bad interactions with Seroquel. Further, we will create scans to use on the general population to determine who's on Seroquel and who is not. Those that are not on Seroquel and need to be on it will be required to be put on Seroquel. Law enforcement will be equipped with Seroquel guns, which they can shoot at people who refuse to take Seroquel and need to be on it. These guns will be equipped to shoot an injection of potent Seroquel onto the target person with enough Seroquel in the gun to wrest that person from Jesuit brain control so that they will willingly be placed on Seroquel. In severe cases, where a person, even after an injection of potent Seroquel, does not comply, they will be placed in hospitals for monitoring to get them to take Seroquel on a regular basis. This special presentation will also educate the public about how following a calories in, calories out weight management regimen will help that patient on Seroquel maintain a healthy weight. Once a person is placed on Seroquel, he or she will be monitored 24/7 to ensure that the Seroquel they're taking has not been tampered with by criminals or made into something other than Seroquel. They will also be monitored to ensure they are taking their Seroquel as prescribed by their conspiracy law honoring physician or pharmacist. If it's discovered that the patient is not taking their Seroquel as prescribed by their conspiracy law honoring physician or pharmacist, they'll be put back into a hospital to get them back into compliance. Those people who continually neglect to take Seroquel as prescribed by their conspiracy law honoring physician or pharmacist may need to be placed in hospitals permanently to prevent these people from bringing harm to society. A lot of these people under Jesuit brain control have been going around shooting people, and they've been the terrorists we've heard about in the news. It goes without saying that nobody can have their vote count in a poll or election unless they are on Seroquel and are not Jesuits or Jesuit supporters willingly or unwillingly. For the purposes of these voting laws, a person not on Seroquel who needs to be on it to prevent Jesuit brain control will be considered an unwilling agent or a Jesuit, which means their vote cannot count in an election. It goes without saying that any willing or knowing attempt to tamper with anybody's Seroquel to make it other than what Seroquel is intended to be will bring the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator to that violator. I got yeast bombs, Zach Knight's dropping everywhere. Goodness. Also, nobody can run for any elected office. Come on, Lord, clear my throat. Or be in any elected office in any conspiracy law honoring nation unless they are taking Seroquel as prescribed by their conspiracy law honoring physician or pharmacist. Jesuit brain control has gone rampant and can actually determine the outcome of an election. We cannot allow this to happen. It goes without saying that no Jesuit, willing or unwilling, or Jesuit supporter can hold any elected office. If it is necessary to impeach someone in elected office because they are a Jesuit, it must first be determined if they are a willing or unwilling Jesuit. If willing, they need to be executed. If unwilling, they need to be put under the treatment needed to remove Jesuit brain control over them. Once they are successfully removed from Jesuit brain control, they will then be qualified to resume their elected office. If we are unable to remove them from Jesuit brain control for whatever reasons, they must be removed from elected office permanently. We have a situation in the U.S. 2016 American elections where it appears that Hillary Clinton has been murdered and replaced with a Jesuit. She is chosen for her vice president, Jesuit Tim Kaine. If, despite conspiracy law, Hillary becomes president, the Hillary clone or clones must be executed, and we will replace Hillary with a good automaton, as it seems the real Hillary has gone on to heaven. Her Jesuit vice president will be sacked and not allowed to act in any elected office. despite what Jesuit news reports. If he does act in the capacity of any elected office as a Jesuit, he will be executed along with all those who assist him willingly and knowingly in this conspiracy. All laws regarding lying news media must be enforced as outlined in this Section 8 of this document. I will have a link to this Section 8 underneath this video. We have had some problems with Donald Trump's compliance in taking Seroquel. Donald will be required to take Seroquel as prescribed, and if not, he too will be sacked as U.S. president and replaced with a good automaton or another person more qualified for the office of U.S. president. If tragically Jesuits murder the real Donald Trump, he will be treated as outlined in the paragraph above, how we handle the Hillary Clinton Jesuit clone, which I just read. Gail Chord Schuler as the American Empress on August 16th August 2016, cannot tolerate as her assistant any willing or unwilling Jesuit supporter. Anyone who willingly and knowingly adds pathogenic yeast or germs to the air, whether by bombs or other methods, to the water, food, or anything people ingest, breathe, or absorb into their bodies, will be guilty of the death penalty under conspiracy law and must be executed, preferably publicly, on the Gabriel Chana Fox News Channel or other media outlet to make an example of them. All conspiracy law honoring nations will strive to overcome any yeast bombs or bombs that contain germs by using bombs to neutralize these bombs if possible. All areas of the earth must be scanned to determine the presence of pathogenic yeast and germs, and ways must be found to neutralize these areas and make them safe for the public. All people on earth in conspiracy law honoring nations must be scanned to determine who's on Seroquel, who is not, and those not on Seroquel and who need to be on it must be taken care of as outlined in this Section 8.1, A2 to A2G. Okay, those are my updates. I'd also like to state that I have written a small book called Jesuit Murder of Abraham Lincoln. Hillary Clinton is a Jesuit. I have a paperback and Kindle version available at my Amazon Amazon page, and there will be an audiobook available in about a week. You can also read for free this book, which I will supply as a link underneath this video. But the advantage of getting the Kindle book or the paperback is if you want to order them in large quantities and pass them out, feel free to do so. That'll be especially useful for the Kindle book because you can order. I've set the Kindle book up where if you buy it, you are allowed to give free copies to as many people as you want. I want to get information out about Jesuit history because they have a very deadly, murderous history, and they've covered up history so that people think they're a benign branch of the Catholic Church when they're actually a bunch of murdering thugs. So I wanted to get their history. They murdered Abraham Lincoln, by the way. And the audiobook, I changed my mind. I originally was planning on, I was going to read it all orally. I mean, and make a YouTube video of the whole thing. But I have some samples, which I've already read in my latest videos on YouTube. If you want the entire reading, which is excellent, by the way, it's one of my best readings, it's going to be up at Audible and Amazon in around a week. Probably going to cost you about $5 to purchase. And then you can listen to it on all sorts of devices. That's the advantage of having it as an audio book. You can put it on your, I don't know. I know that, and it's possible that maybe Donald Trump or my men could make it into CDs and give out a whole bunch of copies to the general public. This is important history that people need to know. The Jesuits murdered Abraham Lincoln. They were behind the Civil War, the American Civil War, World War I, World War II. This chapter about Abraham Lincoln will be a chapter of my bigger book called Jesuit Empire Secret History, which will be coming out in September. But anyways, this is some important information I need to get out. We need to enforce these laws because it would be unthinkable to have Adolf Hitler, Hillary Clinton, as president of the United States. I've nicknamed her Hitler Hillary because we don't have any good versions of Hillary left.